A brand new Netflix movie is getting lots of attention for excessive explicit content. I want to talk about why the direction for this movie is totally out of bounds, and also look at the film industry and how it exploits people. There's a new movie out on Netflix called Blonde, and it's getting a lot of attention for having some pretty extreme content in it. I have an article from Time that I want to look at, and then I want to share some of my thoughts on why even go this route with the direction for this, but also take a look at the industry. So let's dive into this article. I'm reading here from Time. Following a limited theatrical release, Blonde will be the first Netflix original movie to be rated NC-17 due to, quote, some sexual content, end quote. I'm going to show you why that is the understatement of the year. NC-17 movies are rare in comparison to titles with the more digestible R rating. Kind of debatable. Some R-rated movies are extremely explicit, extremely not digestible for a lot of audiences, but let's continue. They allow fewer people in the theater to watch the movie, therefore making it more difficult for NC-17 rated films to earn a profit. So what they're talking about here is the rating system that is used in theatrical releases for movies, and this is across the board for every movie that's released in the United States. You know, there's a system in place for certain audiences, certain demographics based on age of what's appropriate for that age, right? So G, PG, PG-13, R, and then beyond the R rating is NC-17. So anyone under the age of 17 cannot buy a ticket to a movie with this rating in theaters. The interesting part about all of this is that this movie Blonde will have a short theatrical run, but after that it will go exclusively to Netflix. Now, Netflix, you know, besides the parental controls that you can put on your account, there really is no safeguard to prevent certain ages from watching this. So that means this movie, NC-17, will be available to anyone with an account. And this is not a good thing. To give you a little bit of backstory on this movie, Blonde, it's a fictionalized biopic about Marilyn Monroe that's based on a fictional novel by Joyce Carol Oates. Okay, so there was a book written about the life of Marilyn Monroe that takes some truth and some fiction and blurs the lines between the two of them. This movie does the same thing. It's based on the book, so some things are accurate, some things are conspiracy theories. So it's important to know that this movie is not a accurate or a complete representation of the life of Marilyn Monroe. Now, the director, Andrew Dominic, he obviously has done press runs for the movie, and he said that this movie should be heralded by supporters of the #MeToo movement. With his statements and his press runs for this movie, whether the representation is truth or it's fictional, he is saying that this movie should be welcomed by the Me Too movement, people who have been impacted by whether sexual assault, sexual abuse, those types of things that they've experienced. He's saying that this movie is for them. This movie is for those people who have experienced that and have maybe some similar experiences to Marilyn Monroe. So in response to that, people online have been saying that this is probably the darkest depiction possible of the abuse that Marilyn Monroe experienced. So this isn't like a cookie cutter, everyone can watch this, everyone should watch this. This is a dark portrayal that many people might find quite disturbing, actually. So part of that disturbing aspect is going through a parental guide. I have gone through the IMDb parental guide, which I honestly am going to be doing a lot more with movies and TV shows that I watch. I think it's really important to know what you're getting into before you watch something, especially if it has maybe an R rating or something along those lines of where it's expected to have some adult content. I think it's really important to be aware and to take the advantage of having someone to have all the information available to you so that you can go and see and be prepared before you go and watch something. So according to the IMDb Parents Guide, almost every category is listed in red as severe. Okay, so it's broken down by categories, and there's usually a color chart that you can follow of green, yellow, red obviously being the, like in a stoplight, green means go, red means stop, right? Red is the universal symbol of stop. So all of the categories listed are severe, and that includes the sex and nudity category, violence, alcohol and drugs, frightening and intense scenes. All of these categories are listed as severe. So going in knowing that, it's going to be a tough movie to watch. It's not going to be, an easy, bump-free movie experience. There's going to be a lot of content here that is going to be disturbing for people. It's going to be difficult to digest. There's really disturbing descriptions of some of the scenes in that parental guide. Of course, they are spoilers in that guide, but I'm not even going to read them because they're really difficult to read just for yourself personally, to be like, oh, dang, like this is actually in the movie, and that's crazy. It's crazy that would happen in real life, but it's also crazy that this is a depiction that is now covered in a movie or TV show. So I'm not even going to read. You can go and read them for yourself on IMDb, but they are disturbing. So why are we even talking about this? Why is this worth talking about? The film industry, in my short life, is infamous for exploiting people, particularly women and young people. Actors, actresses want to get into the film industry. They want to get into the business, and they are exploited by producers, by directors, even in the interview process where they audition. There's lots of stories of people who have been abused in those situations as well, not even getting the role, literally auditioning and being manipulated there. There's a lot of not great things happening in the industry when it comes to women and young people. And this movie deals with the exploitation of Marilyn Monroe, who was a young actress, up and coming, super talented. And this movie is a contradiction. And what do I mean by that? So this movie deals with the exploitation of Marilyn Monroe by exploiting its own actors and actresses. Okay, so in their mind, in their depiction of what happened, all the abuse that she experienced, the movie puts its cast in the same situations, in the same experiences, in order to depict Marilyn's case. That's not right. That's not a good thing. That you're continuing the cycle, right? It's not being cut off. You're actually continuing the cycle of exploitation and abuse, but you're taking this moral high ground of, oh, we're just trying to depict what happened. I don't think so. Using the power of film, you can send a strong message about any topic in the world, right? We've seen this with documentaries. We've seen this with television. We've seen this with news broadcasts. The power of a camera, the power of video and telling a story through a lens is extremely powerful. But the direction for this movie, the message through this movie, in my opinion, is totally out of bounds. It's extreme. The execution of this film totally contradicts its message, and the director approves of it. Even the lead actress, Ana de Armas, very talented, she approves of this message. And I think that is sad. I think it's sad that the crew, the cast, the production team, executives, the whole clan of people that made this movie possible are in agreement that putting people through more abuse, more exploitation in order to tell this story, they thought that was a good idea. And it's not a good idea. I don't think it's right to continue the line of exploitation that actresses and actors have experienced in the industry simply to depict what might or might not have happened in the past. So I just think it's a bad look for this movie. I think it's a bad look for Netflix, and really hope that, things can be turned around and that we can end the line of exploitation. It's definitely a more serious video today. It's a little bit tougher topic to talk about than what we normally talk about here on the channel, but I think it's really important that we look at stories like this, examples like this, of how we can improve the film industry, how we can tell great stories without abusing the people that are involved in the process of making them. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out at Harry's, and I will see y'all in another one.